Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is warning that Canada needs to be prepared for U.S. tariffs because they are coming. This was one of her takeaways from speaking to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump at his residence over the weekend. Smith is the first premier to secure FaceTime with Trump at Mar-a-Lago since his tariff threat.
We had a friendly conversation and I thought quite constructive, during which I emphasized the mutual importance of the U.S.-Canada relationship and specifically how hundreds of thousands of jobs are supported in the United States. I was able to have similar discussions with members of his incoming administration, and I was encouraged to hear that they also understand how important Canada is.
Premier Smith was there as a guest of Canadian businessman Kevin O'Leary, who recently expressed support for the idea of an economic union between Canada and the United States.
Whoa, look at this guy. Pretty fancy, Trevor.
Well.
With the countdown to Trump's inauguration exactly 1 week away, how serious are Trump's threats? Kevin O'Leary is the chairman of O'Leary Ventures, and he joins me now. Kevin O'Leary, welcome to Power and Politics. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I wonder if you can give us some insight into Donald Trump's endgame here with his tariff threat. Do you think he wants tariffs for tariff's sake, or is this a threat to seek concessions in other areas?
What's so important about understanding how Donald Trump works is to realize that there are two elements to his narrative. Number one, there's the noise, and then there's the signal. And you have to learn how to distinguish the noise from the signal.
You're right.
Because he says bombastic things, outrageous things.
You were correct.
And causes a tremendous amount of controversy. And all of this is policy by social media right now. He knows he enjoys that all around the world. However, when you focus on the signal, that is where the opportunity is. And I think where Canadians are getting lost in this narrative, because we're in a unique situation, we're leaderless. And so we have all of these barbs being thrown back and forth across the border. That's all noise. The opportunity is in the signal, and the signal is where we should be focused, because Danielle Smith nailed it when she said, in the tonality of her narrative with Trump was very constructive, because she, you think about the opportunity all of these leaders have had in the last 2 months. And what people don't realize is this is an opportunity to go off the record with Trump and form a personal relationship with his cabinet.
What a great point.
She didn't squander that opportunity. Many others did. So now she's the only politician in Canada that has not only a personal relationship with Trump, but with many of the cabinet that she's going to have to deal with in NAFTA 3.
But Mr. O'Leary, help me then with the noise. What is the signal here? Because, you've seen Lighthizer, his former trade ambassador, who said that they believe tariffs as a way of generating money and bringing manufacturing inside the U.S. borders is a viable policy in and of itself, but you well know how disruptive these tariffs would be to the North American economy should they be imposed. So is he really just trying to get concessions on the border, or is it something bigger? I mean, how do you view it? You talked to him certainly a lot more than I have.
It's a negotiating tactic. All of this is.
To what end, though? To what end? Like, what does he want?
To what end? To create the signals an economic union that's the most powerful on earth. There is no question. Nobody's going to trade sovereignty. No one's going to sell Canada. No one wants to be sold. Nobody wants to give up their sovereignty, either do Americans. But the opportunity, for example, to create a common currency, which makes a lot of sense, I guarantee you now, 11 out of 10 Canadians would rather trade their Trudeau pesos for U.S. dollars tonight.
Good one, Kevin.
Number one. And all of the commodities we sell globally are denominated in U.S. dollars anyways. That's number one. And of course, we need a couple of seats on the Fed, and we'd have to interact with the Bank of Canada with the Fed. But that's a giant economic union. Then there's the opportunity to eradicate all tariffs, not just North and South, but East and West. We have all kinds of stupid tariffs in Canada between provinces, notably the milk deal that Alberta pays for Quebec farmers to produce dairy products that they throw out. Vermont's pretty pissed off about that. And they'd like to see those go away, and they'd like to compete. So that's an opportunity. And then there's the creation of an EU-style uni-passport, which controls immigration. It would be very good for Canada, because if you're a Canadian citizen in good standing with a Canadian passport, or an American in the same situation, both countries has veto power. But if you get approved, you have the ability to move freely between both jurisdictions.
If you're enjoying the content, please like the video, share with your friends, and hit the subscribe button down below. Thank you very much. It helps me out a lot.
and pay one tax rate. It's very attractive, but you also control who comes in for education with that. It's a great idea.
Okay, so when he talks about the 51st state, you know, this was initially dismissed as a joke by people who were at the dinner table in Mar-a-Lago when it was first raised.
You're an idiot! You're an idiot!
But you're saying that's what, a proxy for this idea of an EU-style arrangement between Canada and the United States? I know you have advocated for this idea, but do you know straight from the president-elect's mouth?
No, I have not advocated for a 51st state.
No, the economic union. The economic union.
Okay,
yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, you do have a quote where you say make the border disappear, but you mean regulatory-wise, not in a sovereignty way. Is that what I'm understanding your point here? That
Thanks, Captain Obvious!
I'd rather Canadian dollars be spent on protecting the North and American dollars, because I'm worried about the Chinese more than anybody in Canada, it seems. Right. They don't, listen, I think that's a huge threat, the Russians as well. And I think that's what we get to do when we create an economic union. We want to protect it, the sovereignty of our energy, the sovereignty of our beliefs. We both believe in democracy and freedom of speech. We want to protect that. We want to protect it with financial might. That's what Trump is getting at, and that's a very good idea. And I think we have to separate that noise into this signal, because Canadians are being poked by their own politicians, forced into this by a leadership race at a provincial level in some cases, at a federal in others. And I asked Trump personally, and I don't know if this fell on deaf ears, to say, look, why not give Canada a break so they can elect a leader like you were elected with a 4-year majority mandate? Let them do the same thing and then negotiate with that team.
But this
would be a lot more productive.
This idea of the economic union, as you've described it, have you heard that directly from the president-elect himself, or is this your interpretation? Is this the signal you are pulling from all that noise? Or has he laid it out to you that this is really what he's talking about here?
No, I'm pulling it from all. I'm pulling from all that signal. I know he wants that pipeline. How do you get that? You need Danielle Smith. You need Alberta. You need to build that in cooperation with Canada. That gives total independence and security to the U.S. economy, and it brings in another $300 to $400 billion into Canada. Who doesn't want to do that? The only guy I know that doesn't want that is Gerald Butts, and I think we've had enough of him.
Well, I mean, like, Gerald Butts has been out of government for a long time, so
Oh, Gerald Butts, he's been out of government. Why the hell are you defending this guy? What the hell is wrong with you? Have you got your head up Butts' butt, too? Are you sure your name isn't Gerald Butts? Because it seems like you like the Butts. Maybe a little too much. Maybe not, but maybe a little too much.
I mean, he's.
Oh, wait a second. Wait, that's not true.
Well, it is.
No,
I mean, no, he works with the Ian Bremmer now.
Let me correct you. When there was a majority mandate by Trudeau, and he had it in the first mandate, Butts put all the policy in place.
Sure.
Danielle Smith had to litigate that policy in October 2023 to get me to bring back $70 billion into Canada.
He's right. He's absolutely right. He ain't wrong. He's right. 100%. All right.
Gerald Butts is the antichrist of Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, look, you know, Mr. Butts is a private citizen now. He's not in public life. He does not control the government. He hasn't been since. So anyway, but I want to move on.
Wait a second. Isn't he backing the Liberal leadership right now? Didn't I hear Carney is going to bring him in behind him?
Well,
that's an unholy union.
Okay. All right. Well, look.
Quick, change the subject. Quick, he has a great answer. Change the subject. Change the subject.
I wonder if, to pick up on something Danielle Smith said today, because you are a fan of the Alberta Premier, she came away from this meeting with President Trump. I'm not sure exactly how long it lasted, but she feels a tariff hit of some sort is inevitable next week. Is that your view of it from having spoken to the president-elect?
I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen next week. If you were to say to me, this is number one on Trump's agenda to tariff Canada, I would say that's not the case. These moves are going to come through after he's president. Everything we've seen so far is on a personal basis at his home.
What a great point. I haven't heard anyone else make that point.
And she was wise enough to spend not 1 day, 2 days. That woman knows how to work a room. I can report that to you. She's very smart at that. And my goodness, she scored a lot of points with a lot of different people in the cabinet.
Right, but the situation still is, Mr. O'Leary. You're a Canadian citizen, and this is economic Armageddon if these tariffs come in, as you well know. Unemployment is going to go through the roof. Economic growth is going to go down. Provincial governments.
Oh, shut up.
I appreciate you saying that, but neither of us know. We just don't know. You've got to wait. My point is, wouldn't you rather have your adversary's cell phone number on speed dial? I would.
No, look,
Only one. The only one in Canada that was smart enough to go and meet him.
well, I mean, Prime Minister Trudeau and Dominic LeBlanc did go have dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago, right?
Excuse me. Let me just make a. I asked Trump to ignore those meetings because those people are going to get eradicated in the next election, and I hope he took my advice. Stop wasting your time with Trudeau and any of the cabinet. They're going to get eradicated.
But I
did that personally. That was on me.
Thank you for your service.
Understood, but it is the government we have at this point in time, you know, with a week to go until the inauguration and possibly the implementation of tariffs. So you're saying it is unclear to you if he's going to do this.
What I told Trump was it's the government that took a quarter of the Canadian population into poverty, and they're going soon.
Okay.
They will not be at a theater near you anytime soon.
Okay, but for the next week, they're there, Mr. O'Leary, right? And this is the deadline for the tariffs, right? Because if you take Donald Trump by his statement,
I think you're a retard.
that
My point
day
is,
one.
you don't know that. You don't know that.
I'm taking him at his word. What am I supposed to do? He hasn't said anything to the contrary that I'm not actually going to do it.
Hey, you're a retard.
He said I'm going to hit them. It's going to be day one, along with mass deportations. You have been there talking to him. Are you saying we shouldn't expect that? Because the Canadian economy and
You are so fucking stupid. It's beyond insanity to even comprehend the fucking morons.
the political class is bracing
you
for
are
it.
not. You are not able to separate the signal from the noise. You can't do it. You're just listening to the noise and you're reporting it and you're actually accelerating the hype around it. You are not distinguishing the signal. You don't get it. This is a large, difficult negotiation we're starting, and it goes towards an economic union. That's where we're going. Get over it.
Okay, but if it is an economic union, why doesn't the president-elect say that rather than talk about tariffs, fentanyl, and migrants crossing the border? Like, politicians, when they lay out very clear things.
You have been listening to Trump for 12 years. You asked me that question. That's not his style. That's not how he operates. You know that.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we're a week away. So you, just as a final question, you are not at all certain whether we see tariffs next week. You wonder,
No, I'm not. That a week away is not a destination. It's the beginning of a journey. Get ready.
We've been getting ready. We've been bracing for this. Kevin O'Leary, appreciate the time. That's Kevin O'Leary, the chairman of O'Leary Ventures. Thank you, sir.
Take care.